Queenie of Norwich, written and read by L.K. Wilde. Part 1. Ellen Hardy. Chapter 1. January 1906. Florrie's groaning beside me, writhing around like that time Arthur pinned a maggot to a cobble. We watched it squirm in anger, thinking it stood a chance against Arthur and his shoemaker's awl. It didn't look thrilled, and neither does Florrie. "You all right?" Florrie groans again. I shake her and she turns to me. Still, she don't speak, so I run my hand across her forehead like I've seen Mum do. It's hot and sticky, and I have to wipe my hand on the blanket. "Is it your belly again?" She nods her head. Poor Florrie's always getting sick. I'm made of sterner stuff, Dad says. Maybe it's that I sneak Dad's beer rather than drinking the stinking water from the pump. Florrie's always got a thirst on her, but the water she drinks is gloopy, sticking to the edges of her cup like shit to a stone. "You need the pan." She nods again and I fetch it for her. "Here you go." I put the pan beside her and help her stand. It's tricky because she's bigger than me and flops around like a rag. She holds me tight and lowers herself down. I turn my head away, and when she's done, she collapses to the floor. "Ellen," she says through her tears. "What's the matter?" I say, stroking her damp hair. "There's some on my nightdress." Florrie's shoulders bunch up with sobs, and I hug and shush her. We can't have Mum hearing us or there'll be hell to pay. She's as big as a heifer and never sleeps well when there's a baby on its way. I fumble with Florrie's nightdress and pull it up over her head. With no window and no lamp, it's a case of the blind leading the bloody blind. My fingers feel along the rough floor, looking for something to cover her. An overcoat will have to do. I wrap it over her shoulder and pull it tight around her belly. "Florrie, get yourself into bed. I'll sort the pan." "Leave it till morning," she says, "but I can't sleep in here with that rotten stink all night." Her breathing turns heavy. I tuck the dirty nightdress under my arm, then feel my way through the darkness. The hanky I've wrapped around my nose and mouth to block the smell isn't working. I can't hold the pan at arm's length, for my arms are little and the pan big. So I have to clutch it to my chest, praying none spills onto me. It would be easier if the floorboards weren't curled up and down like waves on the river. I stick close to the wall and don't disturb the sleeping bodies between me and the stairs. 10 steps down, 2 to the door. Good. I've made it without waking the yard. I stumble on cobbles but twist my body in time and the filth splashes on the ground, not me. The privy is black as pitch. I do my best to tip the pan over the hole, but I'm sure some pours over the sides and they'll be cursing tomorrow when the neighbours use it. I shovel ash over the top till I'm sure it's covered enough for me to take off my hanky. Back in the yard, I walk 12 steps to the pump. I have to get my shoulder under the handle and push from my ankles up to get the bloody thing to move. It gurgles. Then I hang on to it and pull it down, and dirty water splurts all over Florrie's nightdress. With no lie, it's going to smell worse than before, but it's the best I can do. I'm wringing out the nightdress when a foul smell wafts into the yard, and I hear the clacking of horses' hooves. Bloody hell. It's the honey cart. I'm trembling, and for a moment I'm pinned to the spot. The sounds of boots on cobble gets me moving, and I sprint to the nearest wall and press myself against it. I'm standing in the bloody drain, aren't I? My boots are filling with stinking water, but I don't care. I've heard stories of the scavengers what drive the honey cart. Arthur told me they have 3 eyes, and Robert said they snatch kiddies what are out at night. Oh God, please keep me safe, I pray. Not that God's done much for me so far. My heart's thumping as hard as Dad nails leather, but I do my best to keep my breathing quiet. There's 2 of them. I can hear them talking. They don't sound like monsters, but maybe that's how they capture you. Pretend to be nice, then pounce. The scavenger's lamp chucks an orange glow around the yard. Tightly packed houses rise like monsters, the few windows glowing orange eyes. "This there yard's one of the worst," says one man, lifting his lamp higher to get a better look. Light tickles my toes. Please, no further, no further. Loose bits of plaster poke into my back as I try to make myself melt into the wall. The light slips back over the cobbles. Bloody hell, that was close. "Well, I'll be blowed. They ain't right, it ain't," the other man mutters, trying to clear the mess I've left in the privy. The yard fills with the scrape of metal spades as they shovel filth into buckets. I press hard against the wall. The stinking water flows fast, lapping at my stockings. After an age, the footsteps of the scavengers disappear through the alleyway and onto the street. I wait for the clacking of hooves before I dare move again. Back inside, I pick my way along the wall, stepping over the legs and feet of my family. How they didn't wake with Florrie's spurts and splutters is beyond me, but most were up at 4 and back after dark, so they're dead to the world. I squeeze myself under the blanket beside Florrie and wrap my arm around her. It's wrong to say, but I love Florrie more than the others. I barely see the older ones with the hours they work, never see Dad, and Mum's always in a lather. Florrie's promised to always look after me, but it's always me looking after her. Not that I mind, she's the sweetest, most perfect girl I know. I'd cross hot coals for her if I had to. My eyes squeeze shut, but thoughts of the honeycut jolt me every time I fall towards slumber. The others are stirring before I finally drift off. It's hard to know where night ends and morning begins, for it's so dingy in the house. But the room is empty, so it must be morning. I pick the sleep from my eyes and pull on my clothes. The fire is out, and I wear my coat over my dress to keep away the chill. My boots clatter against the bare boards of the stairs, and as my hand sweeps down the wall, a patch of plaster falls out, and I kick it to the bottom. In the downstairs room, one piece of wood sits lonely in the fire. Dad's jumper and trousers are drying on the clothes horse, but the timber is giving out more smoke than heat, and I can't see them drying soon. Through the blur of smoke and darkness, I see Florrie sat at the scrubbed table, bowl in front of her. "You better?" "Much better, thanks." "That porridge?" "Yep, there's still some in the pan if you want it." I grab a chip bowl from the table and ladle out porridge from the pan on the fire. It's good Florrie's eating. She needs to build her strength. "Ellen?" I say through a mouthful of sticky oats. "Thank you for last night. I'm sorry about... She's choked up and I reach my hand across and squeeze hers. "You don't have to say sorry. I like looking after you." "You're so grown up," she says. I don't know why, but she sounds sad. "Course I'm grown up. I must be 6 by now." "I know. It's just girls what are 6 should play with dolls, not clean up filth while their mum and dad snooze away." "What are dolls?" "They're like small people made from cloth and china." "Sounds scary." Florrie laughs. "Yes, I suppose they are a bit." "Florrie, if I tell you something, you've got to promise you won't tell no one." "I promise." Last night, I saw the scavengers. Florrie's spoon drops from her hand and clatters against the table. "The scavengers? You sure?" "Yep, sure as can be. They weren't what Arthur says, though. They're just ordinary fellows scooping up buckets of filth." "Were you scared?" "No," I lie. "Is everyone at work?" "Yep." "Do you have to go in?" "Not till noon. I'm on the late shift today." "Can we play outside?" "You sure? It's bloody freezing out there." "It's freezing in here." "That's true enough. I need to head out to the wash house. Will you help me?" "You promise you'll play with me if I do?" "I promise." "All right, I'll help you with the other chores too." It don't take long for us to sweep and make the beds, for our house is small. Even with 9 kiddies and 2 grown-ups, no one makes much mess, because they're at work most of the time. Sarah will probably leave soon. I caught her kissing a chap from Reeves' yard, and Mum says if she's not careful, she'll get herself knocked up or have a pee in the pond. I'm not sure what that means, but the way Mum talks, it's like Sarah will soon be gone. It's freezing outside, but there's plenty of folk about. I jump down the front step and away from our house. I don't trust it. The top half leans forward into the yard like it could fall on top of me at any moment. It also leans to one side, looking as squiffy as Dad does when he sunk too many pints in the Queen Caroline. Our house might have been painted white once, but now it's grey with splodges of brown and green sneaking their way from bottom to top. It's almost as thin as Arthur, and I'm jealous of the Jeffreys next door because they got windows top and bottom. I thought you said you'd help, says Florrie, her face red beneath armfuls of sheets and drawers. Give me some of that, I say, taking a bundle of cotton and tucking it under my arm. I need a hand free, for the neighbours have been doing their laundry and strings of sheets and clothes hang from one side of the yard to the other. The last thing I want is Mr. Morrison's drawers in my face. I hold back a grey sheet and let Florrie pass. You girls not in school today, says Mrs. Morrison as we walk into the wash house. Too old, says Florrie. Too young, I say, though that's not true. I should be there, but Mum's not around to check and I know the other kids won't snitch. You done here? Florrie says to Mrs. Morrison, and she nods her head. You're good girls helping your mum out like this. Shame she has to go winding when she's so near her confinement. We nod, and Mrs. Morrison shuffles off. Most mums stay home, taking care of the house and the kiddies, but they still earn a few bob on the side. I doubt Mrs. Morrison's laundry's her own, and I know Mrs. Jeffreys spends her evenings making dresses and trousers for local kiddies. But it's easier to take in work when you've a window to see by. No wonder Mum's often in a lather, working all the hours God sends, running a house and having so many kiddies to care for. I almost feel sorry for her. We bundle our cotton mess into the copper and Florrie nips back to fetch the water she's been heating on the fire. It's a hard job on your arms and our muscles ache from pounding out dirt. We don't spend as long as we should, for now Mrs. Nichols has appeared and hurries us up. By the time we've finished with the mangle, it's hard to say how long the whole lot's taken, for the sun never reaches us here in the yard, so it's a job to judge the passing of time. Can we play now? I ask Florrie once the last dress is on the line. Go on then. Fancy skipping? I nod. All right, I'll fetch the rope. Eddie and Dickie are sitting on their front step, looking sheepish. They have a metal bucket turned upside down and are taking turns to bang it with a stick. What you up to? A game for boys. Get you on. Go on, shoot. Why can't I play? You're a girl. Bugger off. I stare at them and fold my arms. Florrie walks over with the rope. What's in that there bucket? The boys snigger and Florrie gives Dickie a clip round the ear. For a moment he gets cross. Then he grins. Want to know what's in our bucket? That's what I said, isn't it? All right then. Dickie jumps off the step and reaches his arm back to the bucket. With a bang, the bucket topples over and a walloping great rat runs out. Florrie screams and I'm frozen to the spot as it races across my feet. Florrie grabs me and pulls me away from the boys. Idiots, says Florrie. Should have killed the bloody thing. Florrie hugs me and waits for me to calm down. Mostly I like living in the yards, but the rats are one thing I hate. Their little feet pat around the floorboards at night and I find excuses not to clear out the fire because that's one of their favourite hiding places. They told us at school rats carry disease. At night I sometimes lie awake imagining them sneaking round, killing all my family. Florrie lets go of me and ties one end of the rope to the doorknob. Jump in, she says, and begins swirling the rope round and round till it blurs against the grey buildings. Soon other little truants find us, and it's a right old party we got going on. Doreen from Hawksyard's here with her sisters. They're poor little mites, with only flimsy cotton blouses to warm against the chilly winter air. Florrie would never let me go out like that in winter. Even if it means she goes cold, she keeps me warm. I bloody love Florrie, I do. Chapter 2, February 1906. Mum was right to worry about Sarah having a pee in the pond. Her belly's got big and her chap's done the proper thing and says they should wed. I don't give two hoots who Sarah's stepping out with, but I like what he brings with him. He's been slipping Sarah bits of meat from his butcher's shop, and tonight we're having mutton stew for tea. The neighbours will be green with envy once the smell wafts through their fancy pants windows. The mutton stew works a treat, and like the Pied Piper, it's brought all the family running home. Dad's gone balmy with the candles, and as one flickers away on the table, another two throw light from the space we call a windowsill, even though there's no window. Any other night, we'd be squinting away, trying to see by the light of one. The candles stutter, burning down the wax. It's draughty in here, and flames jerk this way and that, lighting up patches of wall, then throwing it back to shadow. Where two walls meet, a black splodge is creeping its way from the floor, and in some places fur is clinging to it. Even the candle flames can't lighten it. In places the black splodge hasn't reached, little beads of water cling to the wall. I ask Maria what they are, and she tells me it's from our breath. How could our breath stick to the wall like that? Makes little sense, but looks pretty, like Mrs. Jeffrey's string of fake pearls what she wears every Sunday. Everyone is busy, so I play a game, stopping the water with my finger as drops race down to the floor. Pearls gather on my finger, then dribble down my palm. I wipe my hand on my skirt and look around the room. Robert and Arthur huddle on the stairs, talking about their latest floozies. Maria, Sarah and Ethel are talking about wedding business. Girls' business, they call it, but they won't let me join in, even though I'm a girl too. Ethel's face is burning brighter than the candle, and I know they're talking about rude things, even if they won't tell me what. Dad sits in a dark corner, rolling baccy from his tin, trying to ignore the mess of everyone squashed together like fleas on a rat. He's quiet, but that's nothing new. Dad's always quiet. I sometimes wonder if he has a brain in his head for the little he has to say. But then he'll surprise me and come out with something about the weather or work. Cold out, he'll say, or boss was a right bastard today. Man of few words, I've heard Mum call him. Dad must have a brain to be a good shoemaker, so perhaps it's that with so many kiddies there's already enough noise going on. I could count on one hand the times he's spoken to me, but sometimes he'll walk past and ruffle my hair. Mum has her bum in a chair and feet on a stool. Her ankles are nearly as big as her belly, and thin purple lines creep up her face, like when she's shouting, only now she's quiet, picking out grime from beneath her nails. Mum looks up and I give her my best smile. She frowns and looks away. I don't know what I've done this time, but I always seem to have done something wrong, however hard I try to be good. With Florrie busy stirring the stew and everyone else ignoring me, I'm left with no choice but to find Albert. He escaped the noise and is playing with marbles on the sloping upstairs floor. He don't even look up when I come in, just stares at his marble, rolling drunkenly down the wonky floorboards. Can I play? Without looking up, he shakes his head. Why not? Another shake of the head. Cat got your tongue? I don't know why I bother. Albert never speaks to no one. It's only because he's clever as hell he gets away with being so rude. It caused a great upset at the school when Dad took him out to begin work. They said he could have gone far, whatever that means. He don't like helping Dad at the factory, but Dad says he works faster and better than a grown man, so it looks like he'll have to stay. Maybe he's not as clever as they think. If I were him, I'd do shoddy work and get myself sacked and back to school. I hate school, but I reckon I'd hate the factory more. Everyone says me and Albert look alike. Same blue eyes, same dark hair, but I don't want to look like no boy, especially not a boy like Albert. Albert, I say, waving my hand up and down in front of his eyes. Nothing. Albert! I grab a chunk of hair and pull his head back so he has to look at me. Bugger off, he says. Bugger off yourself, I say. Just for good measure, my toe clips his pile of marbles, sending them spilling like ribbons of water across the scuffed floor. Ready, Florrie calls. I run down the stairs before Albert can trip me up or push me. All that time Florrie stood stirring, and the stew is shoved into gobs as quick as it hits the bowls. The room fills with the sound of chewing and spoons scraping on the mishmash of bowls, plates and cups we're eating from. Mum makes me wait till last, so I only get one ladle's worth, and it's full of burnt bits scraped off the bottom. There's not enough chairs for us all, and Mum's taking up 2. The boys lean against the door frame and the girls by the fire. Me and Florrie sit ourselves down in the only bit of space near Dad's feet, the floor cold against my bum, the wall damp against my back. Dad's trousers brush my cheek and I shuffle closer to Florrie. He'll be so tired by now, I don't trust him not to forget I'm there and put a boot in my face. His trousers are fraying at the bottom and there's a musty smell coming off them. If the light was better, I might even see it. I bet it would float green or brown through the air. His boots are the only smart thing about him, for a shoemaker can't have grubby shoes. Bad for business. His fingers reach down and scrub against his leg. He stretches out and I get my head away just in time. Arthur reckons Dad likes to fuss about his dodgy leg so we don't forget he was a soldier. I don't need no leg to remind me, not with Pretoria as my middle name. You won't be getting no meat from me once I'm married, pipes up Sarah, her mouth stuffed with stew. I'll have my own mouth to feed. And we'll have one less wage coming in, mutters Dad. Send Ellen out to work, says Arthur. Ellen? She's too little. Only turned 6 this week. Right old waste of space. Mum's words make everyone go quiet. They fidget, looking at the floor, the walls, anywhere but me. Florrie reaches over and takes my hand. I squeeze hers back to let her know I'm all right. Did I really turn 6 this week? Mum never said, but I suppose she's no reason to lie. I can't help being little. Can't see you being much use when you're big, neither, says Mum. Ethel collects up the dishes, and for a moment everyone forgets about me. She's like that, our Ethel, plain to look at, quiet as a church mouse, but she's a fixer, always trying to avoid rows and smooth things over. I stare at Mum. My belly churns as she nibbles a dirty nail and spits the end out onto the floor. She's wrong about me being useless. The words spill out before I can stop them. If you're worried about Dosh, you could always go to the pub less. I clap my hand over my mouth, but it's too late. I've gone and bloody said it. What did you say, girl? The lines on Mum's face turn dark purple and bubbles of spit sit on her lips. I have to choose, keep quiet or stick up for myself. It's simple arithmetic, really, I say. Florrie digs her nails into my palm to get me to shut up. It don't stop me. I'm on a roll. I look up at Dad, who squirms in his seat. 4 pints a night over 7 nights is about 9 bob. Go to the pub less and we'd not be so hard up. Mum lifts one leg after the other off the stool and eases her way to standing. She waddles round the table and crouches in front of me. Her hand whips across my cheek. I reckon it stings more than a hot poker. You see this life? See the hours I work? All you have to do each day is go to school and you can't bloody manage that. Who are you to tell me that after a day of toil I can't join my husband for a drink or two? That shuts me up. I've said too much already. Robbie. Mum cocks her head towards the door. Dad nods and follows her from the room, ready to hand over his weekly earnings to the landlord of the Queen. It takes a minute or two before the room breathes again. You're a wild one, says Maria. She's an idiot, says Sarah. Who told you about the dosh? Says Arthur. No one told me. I just knew. How? You truant more than you go to school. I shrug. Numbers are easy, I say, and Arthur squints at me like he don't know if I'm telling the truth. The others scarper in all directions when it's time to clear up, so it's just me and Florrie left with the dishes. She manages the pump better than me, and I hold a bowl underneath to catch the spilling water. We don't bother heating it, there's only one log left to burn. She gives the dishes as good a scrub as the water will allow, then passes them to me for drying. My cloth is more of a rag. Torn in that many places, I have to fold it plenty before it will soak up any water. I scrub at the wet plates and bowls, but can't rub off the pump water's grease. You know, Florrie says, staring into the bowl, what you said to Mum was rude, but funny. She turns to me and there's a twinkle in her eye. Her lips are twitching like she's trying her hardest not to laugh. Did you really think that up by yourself? Yep, I say, keeping my face straight. I've not given much thought to the brain in my head. It is what it is. They wonder why I hate school. It's dull. Too easy. Being clever is all well and good, but it don't change nothing. Mum will have me winding silk as soon as I'm big enough. Florrie? Why don't Mum like me? Don't pay any attention to her when she's in a lather. But she's in a lather with me more than the rest of you. Yes, but you're the littlest. It's always the littlest what gets it worst. The littlest can't work. The littlest reminds her of all the mouths there are to feed. Were you the littlest once? I was. Listen, there'll be a new little one soon and things will get better. I promise. By the time Mum and Dad get back, I've been scraping numbers and sums onto the dirty floor for hours. I wasn't lying when I told Arthur numbers are easy. They are. Easier than people, anyway. I hear Mum trip over someone's legs and curse loudly. I rub out the numbers and lie still so she thinks I'm asleep. My breathing stays regular, even though my heart pounds as her steps get closer. I can smell beer as she gets down on her knees and moves her face near mine. I hope you go to sleep and never wake up, she says. I keep my eyes tight shut. She may know I'm awake, but there's no way I'm letting her see the tears bubbling under my lids. Chapter 3, March 1906. Mum hasn't gone to the mill today. She hasn't got up at all. Is she dead? I feel a terrible guilt at the cheer that thought brings. Florrie comes running down the stairs and fills the kettle without speaking. Florrie? Sorry, Ellen, didn't see you there. Is Mum all right? Will be, she's having the baby, I think. Oh. Look, Ellen, I'm sorry, but I have to leave you to look after her. She's supposed to be winding today, and if I don't cover for her, she might lose the work. Please don't, I say, but I know there's little point arguing. It will be all right. I've asked Mrs. Jeffries to call in often, and if there's any problems, go next door and they'll send for the doctor. Think you can manage that? I don't think I can, but I don't want Florrie to worry, so I nod my head. Good. Once this water boils, take her a cup of tea with some sugar. She'll need her strength, so get whatever she asks for. Sarah's going to drop round some bread on her break, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Florrie gives me a quick kiss on the head, then before I know what's happening, she's grabbed her coat and is out the door. Bloody hell. A day with Mum is bad enough, but she'll likely be in more of a lather than usual. I take my time finishing my porridge. With more care than usual, I rinse my bowl and make the tea. When I can think of no more excuses, I trudge up the stairs. Mum has her blanket flung down below her knees and her massive belly sticks high in the air. Her grey hair lies like spindly fingers above her face. Her skin is like ash. You all right, Mum? She turns her head and groans when she sees it's me she's left with. I hand her the hot tea and she takes it without a word of thanks. The cup wobbles in her hand and tea burns her arm. She must be bad, for she don't cry out. I kneel beside her and after blowing on the tea, gently lift the cup to her dry lips. A quick nod of the head says she's drank enough and I tuck my feet beneath me and smooth the blanket over her puffy legs. Anything I can get you? She shakes her head, cups her belly with a grimy hand and turns onto her side. Her face creases in pain and her body curls tight, like a beetle what's stranded on its back. Blobs of sweat have gathered on her forehead and I dab at them with a rag, whipping my arm back each time in case my fussing makes her mad. But her fight seems buried under pain. She lets me get on nursing without the usual slaps and scowls I'd get for being near her. Mum's tatty nightdress is wet, damp half moons beneath her arms and clinging fast to her back. I hover the back of my hand over her neck and let it rest. Her leathery skin feels cold, even though there's sweat pouring from it. I rock back on my knees, wondering what the bloody hell I should do. Is it too soon to fetch help? Her face smooths and that tells me that yes, it's too soon. I'll fetch some water, I say. Mum nods and shoos me away with a limp hand. Out in the yard I take big gulps of air. A breeze messes my hair. There's a fair bite to it, but winter is in its last moments and spring should gobble it up soon. How's it going in there? The voice belongs to Mrs. Jeffries, leaning out of her downstairs window. Don't know. Well, how is she? How often is the pain coming? Every 90 seconds. Mrs. Jeffries laughs. And you can count that far, can you? She's laughing at me, thinks I'm a liar. I move closer to her window. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get to 56 before she holds a hand up to stop me. Well, all right then. 90 means it might not be much longer. When it gets to 60, fetch me and I'll come and check on her. How long will it take to get to 60? Mrs. Jeffries laughs. No way I can say, love. You kiddies have a mind of your own, keeping us mummies guessing while you're on your way into the world. Mind you, her last few were as quick as shelling peas, so I don't expect it'll be much longer. She closes her window, and I catch my reflection in the glass. Bloody hell, I look like the girls from Hawksyard. I forgot to brush my hair this morning, and my fringe is sticking out here, there, and everywhere. I hate to say it, but I know what they mean about me and Albert looking alike. I'll have to run next time Mum comes near me with the scissors. If I'm lucky, my hair will have left my ears for my chin by summer. There's a splodge of dirt on my cheek and I'm going to rub it off, but I don't think Mrs. Jeffries is keen on me using her window as a looking glass, so I head over to the pump. I wedge my shoulder beneath its handle, but the bloody thing won't budge. Mrs. Jeffries must still be watching me, for her window opens once more. Need some help with that? I nod, and in a few moments she's beside me, yanking the handle, sending mucky water bubbling into my bowl. What are you getting the water for? I reckon Mum must be thirsty. Also, she stinks. Ah, I see. Well, a wash down might do her good, but she'll need something stronger than that water to drink. Wait here. She appears moments later carrying a glass bottle filled with brown liquid. What is it? I ask, and Mrs. Jeffries gives me a wink. Medicine. Give her a nice big glass of that and the pain will feel better in no time. She winks again. I thank her and head back into the house. I can't find no clean cups, so I rub one on my skirt till it looks all right and fill it to the top with liquid from Mrs. Jeffries' bottle. I spill a bit on the stairs and crunch my boot over it a few times till it melts into the wood. No harm done. Mum always tells us kiddies not to be greedy, but she breaks her own rules as soon as she gets a whiff of the cup and its stinking brownness. She near enough rips it from my hands and glugs it down in 3 gulps. There's dribbles running down her chin, but she don't care. The drink makes her dozy, but she chucks a sleepy smile my way. Still, every 90 seconds her face twists up all ghoul-like, and I know the pain is still there, but she don't seem to feel it as much now. That fat belly of hers is moving up, down, up, down, up, down. Was that a snore or a fart? I creep across to Albert's bed and lift the floorboard beside it. He thinks he's so clever with his little hidey hole, but we all know it's there. It's usually the thought of rats what keep me from digging around in it, but with nothing doing and time to kill, I could do with some fun. My fingertips settle on soft cotton and I grab the bag of marbles. It's hard to play ring tour on your own, but I like pretending, so with my coat on I'm Ellen, without it I'll be Geoffrey. Geoffrey sounds like a right posh boy, and maybe I'll marry one of those one day. My nail scratches a circle in the dust and dirt covering the floorboards, and I gather up the marbles inside it. Me and Geoffrey take turns, flinging marbles into the circle to push the others out. Geoffrey wins, of course. Posh people always do, Mum says. Mum groans and I gather up the marbles and stuff them back under the boards. 1, 2, 3, 4. I count to 70 before the pain comes again. Do you want me to wash you down a bit? Mum nods and I pull the bowl and rag across the floor to her. There's not much room to work with mattresses spread across the room, almost touching. I push Albert and Arthur's together so I've got more space. I've washed no one but myself before, and I don't want to see Mum's rude bits, so I work around her nightdress. Lift, pull, lift, pull. I start with her arms and legs. Her legs are rank, covered in spiders' webs in blue and purple that creep from bottom to top. Yuck! I hope my legs never look like that. Her hands are rough and her nails dirty, but there's not much I can do about those. I wipe her arms so gently I'm barely touching. It must soothe her, for her face gets less creased and she closes her eyes. Her back is tricky. I can't pull the nightdress down far. I wipe around her neck and go as far down as I can. The wipe, rinse, squeeze calms me too. I need to do under her arms. I lift one arm up and a mighty stink fills the room. Bloody hell. I turn my face away and wipe harder than I did in other places. Mum heaves herself round and I do the other side. I count again. Still 70. Thank you, Ellen. It's a long time since anyone took care of me. Did she just thank me? I'm that surprised. All I can say in return is, more tea? Mum nods and I carry the bowl filled with water and dirt downstairs. I tip it out in the drain and call over to Mrs. Jeffries. 70 now? All right, love, won't be long. You know what to do. The kettle squeals and I'm making the tea when Sarah appears with a loaf of bread. How is she? I give her the latest and she seems satisfied. You staying? I ask, and she shakes her head. Can't. Only got half an hour till I need to go back. Keep doing what you're doing, Ellen, she says, and then she's off. I cut a hunk of bread from the loaf and look for something to put on it. All I can find is an empty jar that once held sugar. I lick my finger and run it against the bottom, gathering a fine layer of white as I go. My mouth is watering and screaming at me to keep it for myself, but I ignore my belly's grumbling and run my sugar-coated finger across Mum's bread. Mum picks at the bread and seems more uncomfortable than before. I count again. 60. 60 seconds between the groans and twisted face. I clatter down the stairs and out into the yard, banging on Mrs. Jeffries' door. 60 seconds, I say when she opens it. Mrs. Jeffries nods and follows me over to the house. I wait in the corner while she lifts Mum's dress and checks around her private parts. Ellen, tell Johnny to fetch the doctor. I run downstairs into the yard and bang on his door. Johnny! Johnny! Your mum says you're to fetch the doc. Johnny opens the door and runs out so fast he almost knocks me to the ground. Thank you! I shout as he disappears into the alleyway and sprints out into the yard. I'm holding Mum's hand and wiping her forehead when the doctor from the clinic arrives. I can't remember holding Mum's hand before. With mine the only hand on offer, she has no choice this time. Every now and then she grips so tight her nails leave dashes on my skin. The doc is old, but his face is kind and I trust him. He's wearing a woolen suit and tie that keep the cold of the room from reaching his bones. I like him even more when he says nothing about the smell, just starts taking shiny silver bits and bobs from a shiny leather case. We'll be fine here, child. You go out and play. You sure you don't need me? He gives me a wide smile, all sparkly eyes and straight white teeth. What's your name, child? Ellen. Well, Ellen, it seems you've done as good a job as any of my nurses, but I can assure you your mother is in safe hands. Have a break. I'm sure you've earned one. I want to hug this kind man for rescuing me from Mum and for, well, just being kind. Outside in the yard I consider my options. Where will the truants be today? Hawk's yard would be the most likely place, but there's old men there what scare me. They sit all grizzled and grim on battered chairs outside battered houses. Baccy has turned their fingers and teeth yellow, and they hack up gobs of slime from deep inside before spewing it onto your shoes if you're not careful. I decide to wander along Oak Street and try my luck, see what yard's got the best doing. Right down Oak Street I go till I get to Dial's yard. There's not likely to be many kiddies in this one, but I like to look at the big old house there and imagine the fine people what once lived in it. It leans over the street, covered in timber planks and grey plaster. One end is crumbling, and it don't look safe to go in. Instead, I peep through the broken window and see the finely carved walls where people once had posh dinners with plenty of meat. Sawmill yard, sun yard, Greenland fishery yard, Betts yard, unicorn yard, all nothing doing, no kiddies what would welcome me anyhow. I poke my head into Dolphin Yard, but there's a woman there, fiddling with a bucket and drains. She has a proper skirt on her bottom half, but on her top she has a thin blouse and one of her boobies is poking out. She should probably be in the madhouse. I'm not hanging round long enough to find out. I run past Key and Castle Yard. Arthur told me the landlord of the pub there murdered his wife and cut her into tiny pieces. He said her ghost still roams the yard, wailing and banging on doors. Bugger that, I'll not be meeting her today. I find myself playmates at Horton's Yard. My friend Alice, what lives here, is at school, but her little sisters are happy to let me join in their skipping. It's posh in Horton's Yard. Some houses have front gardens, some even have flowers in the gardens. There's even a bloody tap. A tap! What I'd give for a tap. No more heaving myself up under a rusty pump, what more times than not sticks fast. It's clean here too. Front steps painted white, windows with clear glass in every house. Still stinks like all the other yards though. The girls disappear into their house. I think Alice's mum likes me, but not enough to let me inside, so I don't try and push my luck. 2 boys let me join in playing with their spinning top, and the sun is slinking down before I say my goodbyes. My steps get quicker the closer I come to our yard, Queen Caroline's. I don't think no queen ever lived here. Can't imagine queens like sharing a privy or working a pump. I'm expecting a new brother or sister to be waiting for me, but I find Florrie, Sarah and Ethel round the table drinking tea in silence. There's a scream from the upstairs room. She's not still going, is she? Afraid so, Sarah says. Is the doc still here? Yep. I might pop up and say hello. Florrie grabs my arm and pulls me back into the room. Best not. Things aren't looking good up there. Dad and the boys have gone to the best of Bedlam to get away from it all. How long will it take? No idea, says Sarah, but if it goes into the night, the doc will cost us £50, which we can ill afford. Florrie pours me tea, and I settle myself cross-legged on the floor beside her. She hands me a crust of bread and I gobble it down. Sarah tries to distract us with talk of the wedding, but time drags and drags. Why don't you try and get some sleep, girls, says Sarah. I'll stay up and tend to Mum if she needs me. It'll be good practice for when it's my turn. She runs a hand up and down her swollen belly. Best sleep down here, though. I doubt you'll get much rest with all the squawking going on up there. Me and Florrie creep up the stairs. The doc don't even look up when we walk through the room. He's taken off his jacket and rolled his shirt sleeves to the elbows. Now and then he runs his arm across his forehead before feeling Mum's belly once more. With arms full of blankets, me and Florrie tiptoe back across the room. Once downstairs, we make our beds up against the far wall. The last thing we want is Dad and the boys treading on us when they get back from the pub. I don't expect to sleep well with the howls and hollers coming through the floorboards, but the day's events must have caught up with me, for I'm asleep in no time. Chapter 4. March 1906. There's a heaviness in the air that makes the hairs on my arms tin soldier straight as soon as I wake. What is it? Sleep is blurring my eyes, so I give them a rough scrub with my palms. I remember now. I slept downstairs. Maybe that's why it's so quiet. Boots slipped on, I take the stairs 2 at a time. The baby must be here by now. But there's no baby held to Mum's chest or lying in the bed beside her. It's just the girls here. Florrie, Sarah, Ethel, Maria, all sat round Mum's bed, talking in whispers. Bloody hell. What's that? A drawer is out of the old dresser, the only piece of furniture we own apart from the table and chairs downstairs. Something's lying in it. No, says Florrie, rushing towards me and holding me back. I push her arm away and drop to my knees beside the drawer. There's something in it, something ugly, scary. Eyes, nose, mouth. It even has hair, but the creature don't seem human. Its skin is waxy and grey, wrinkled and torn. Stripes of sticky blood run like ribbons from its hair to its chin. Meet Maud, Mum says, and lets out an angry laugh. Why is she laughing? The others are grim-faced, not in on the joke. Come away, Ellen, Florrie's words reach my ears like they're smothered by blankets. The room is blurry and everyone seems a long way away. I try to stand, but my legs slip from me and Florrie tucks her arms under mine to hold me up. Had enough of a gawp, have you? Mum's voice is hard but wobbly. She's propped herself up on an elbow, her straggly hair unpinned and hanging across her face. She blows a strand away and glares at me with her little button eyes. I want to ask what happened, why the kind doc couldn't save Maud, but I don't dare. Mum's eyes turn to the baby and her shoulders scrunch up like she's going to cry. Come downstairs, Ellen. Florrie's voice couldn't be more different from Mum's. It's soft as cotton, like a cuddle, and tells me she loves me with every word spoken. Her hands are rough from winding, but her long fingers curl around mine and she leads me back down the stairs. Florrie don't go to the mill today. She stays with me, distracting me from all that has been and all that will come. Somehow she makes the day bearable and time passes quickly. At nightfall, I glance to the room above. The baby is still here. I thought she'd be away by now. Florrie says we have to keep her with us till morning when Mum's well enough to take her to the morgue on Barrack Street. Want to sleep down here again tonight? She asks. Yes. Will you stay with me? Course I will, Florrie says and wraps me up in her arms. Last night I slept badly. Not because of the hard floorboards beneath me or the cold that filled the room once the fire had died, but because of the dead baby. All night I kept remembering that dead baby lying in a drawer just above my head. I couldn't get her candle wax skin from my mind, however hard I tugged at the memory. I suppose it will stay with me forever. A tiny body who got dealt a tiny life of 1 or 2 seconds. 1, 2. Those are small numbers, too small for all the effort of making it into the world. I would have liked a little sister. I could have cared for her the way Florrie cares for me. There's a clattering on the stairs and Mum, Sarah and Maria come into the room. Mum is unsteady on her feet, clutching her belly and wincing with each step. Maria holds a carpet bag to her chest and I know it's filled with dead baby. I curl back further into the room and wrap my arms around myself to still the shaking. I don't want no one knowing I'm scared. Keep that bag away from me. Please, God, let them keep it away from me. I look down at the floor, waiting for them to leave. Get your coat. We ain't got all day, says Mum. And when I look up, it's me she's talking to. Bloody hell, why can't they leave me here? I don't want to be near the baby. Florrie hands me my coat and takes my hand in hers. My feet stay stuck to the spot. Florrie tugs at my hand. It's a gentle tug, but one that lets me know I have no choice but to follow her. There's a fierce wind whipping its way round the yard, carrying with it dirty pieces of snow. Florrie pulls me closer, and we keep our heads down, fighting the wind. We make our way along Oak Street, coats flying behind us, snow stinging our eyes. Sarah spots a bus and holds out her arm. The horses don't seem to enjoy the weather much neither. They whinny and shake their manes to scare off the snowflakes. Their eyes glare at us for making them stop. Maybe they think the flakes are white flies. The sensible folk have gathered themselves on the inside benches, so there's no room for us. Me and Florrie climb the curling stairs to the top deck. We look down and see Mum, face screwing up with each step, taking an age to lift her legs, one after the other. The conductor is getting impatient. Hurry it up there, love. It's not the weather to be dallying. Bugger off, says Mum, and the conductor goes back inside. Maria only has 1 foot on the steps when the horses move. We lean over the railings, praying she can hold her nerve and not drop the baby. She grips the rail tight with one hand, bag in the other, and falls into Sarah on reaching the top. We all sit down, and I keep my back to Maria and the baby. I know it's all closed up, but I keep imagining a little arm or foot poking up, and I can't bear to turn around. I want to look out at the streets, for this is the furthest I've gone from the yard, but the snow don't let up. It's coming down in thick chunks, settling on my coat before soaking in and freezing my bones. My coat is on the small side, and the cuffs are above my wrists, so I sit on my pink hands to stop the cold settling in. The roofs we pass are turning white, the bus juddering and skidding this way and that on the frozen ground. I need a wee, but I don't want to bother Mum. You all right? Says Florrie. I nod and a drip falls from my nose. Florrie snuggles me up to her, wrapping her own coat around the both of us. Icy flakes soak our hair, snow sitting on Florrie's head like a nightcap. With my cheek pressed into her neck, her breath warms my skin. I close my eyes and dream of a warm fire, steaming cup of tea in my hands. The bus moves on down narrow streets, wide streets, streets where houses sit tight together like matchsticks, streets where grand buildings lean over the road, warm light spilling from big windows. Now and then we turn a corner or pass a gap in the buildings and I spot the river. Wide grey water follows us on our miserable journey. A bell jangles. Get a move on, says Sarah, and I see her, Mum, Maria and Ethel heading towards the stairs. Mum gives the carpetbag a light shake to rid it of snow before pressing it to her chest once more. The purple lines on Mum's face have disappeared beneath a blanket of red, her beady eyes looking out from it like raisins. I have to feel sorry for her as she shuffles back down the stairs. She must hurt bad. Stepping off the bus, I see we're beside the river. The wind has whipped away the smell and jiggles the grey water into little curly lumps. It goes on forever, like a shoelace winding round the streets, separating us in the yards from the money of the city. Ethel yanks my elbow, and I follow her down closer to the water. There's some right big ships here. Wherries, Sarah says they're called. She whispers it, so Mum don't notice I'm distracted from the job at hand. The snow is laying thick and already reaches above the toes of our boots. Our sorry little bunch leave a trail of footsteps as Mum leads us down a grey building. There's a thick wooden door with a brass knocker that she raps 3 times. A man appears, dressed in black from his top hat down to his shiny shoes. Maria steps forward, undoes the buttons of the carpetbag and opens it for him to see. He nods in understanding and opens the door wider for us to go in. Before I can step through, Mum holds an arm out to stop me and Florrie getting past. Wait out here, she says, and signals for the man to close the door. As he does, a stench wafts out, filling my nostrils and leaking down my throat. I turn to Florrie for explanation, but she shrugs her shoulders and begins searching the grey stone walls of the morgue for any corner what might give us shelter. I sigh, and my breath pours out in a wispy cloud. I do it again, chasing the ball of breath away with my hand. Come here, Ellen. Florrie has found a stretch of wall facing the river where the wind is less biting. I turn my face to the sky where cobble-coloured clouds race above my head and the air is full with falling snow. Across the river, snow covers everything white. Next to us in the boatyard, white lumps of boat lie beneath masts that point like needles into the sky. I need a wee. Well, there's no one about on this horrid day, so fill your boots. Or rather, don't fill your boots or Mum will go mad. Florrie chuckles, and the sound bounces off the stone beside us, chasing away some lurking ghosts, I hope. With my skirt held to my waist, I crouch down and feel a wave of relief as yellow burns through the snow. I give my bum a shake and watch as steam dances up into the air. A few drops land on my boot, but the snow will see to that. It's spooky here, I say. Florrie nods and shivers. You reckon there's ghosts around here? Well, there's enough dead bodies nearby, she says. My face must look scared, 'cause she keeps talking. But I don't reckon they come out till dark. We'll be all right here for a bit. We don't have to wait long. There's a creak as the door opens and a soft thud of footsteps. We head back to see Mum and the girls walking out in the snow. Maria still carries the carpetbag, but it's crumpled now, empty of baby and sadness. I reckon she should chuck the bag in the river, but she clutches it as tight as she did before. What happens to the baby now? I whisper to Florrie. Don't know. Maybe it'll be burned or chucked in the river. I shiver. Neither of those sound like a good way to go. Chapter 5, April 1906. It's funny how a few weeks ago the yard was covered in snow, but now the sun is trying to sneak through any gaps in the roofs it can find. Yesterday, when I was playing down in Horton's yard, I saw little green spindles poking out of the ground. My friend Alice said they'll turn into flowers soon. She reckons it's a sign of spring. About time too. This winter has dragged its feet too long for my liking. Everything seems more cheerful now, even Mum. She's not happy Sarah is leaving us, but the wedding excitement has reached even her miserable bones. Not long to go now. Just as well, Sarah's belly's blowing up like a pig's bladder and might burst if she's not careful. You coming? Calls Alice, standing at the entrance to the yard. She won't come no further in. Her mum's warned her to stay away, stay in her posh yard with its little garden and white front step. I don't blame her. I'd swap places with her in a heartbeat, as long as Florrie could come too. Coming, I say, and shove my feet into my boots. I've been going to school more since the baby. Much better out of the house than in. I thought the teacher would be pleased, but she don't like my joking around, says I get the other kids in a lather. The kiddies are glad I'm back. More fun when I'm there, they say. Alice has a satchel slung over her shoulder like a proper lady. I don't know what's inside. She won't tell me. I bet there's nothing in it. Bet it's just for show. We walk along Oak Street together and through the iron gates to the playground. The teacher sees me and folds her arms. Will it be a good day today, Ellen? She asks. What am I supposed to say to that? Surely it's up to her if it's a good day or not. I'm not the one stood in front of the bloody class. I nod my head, then run away, giggling. A gaggle of kiddies gather round me and I get to choose what we play. Today I pick doctors and nurses. I'm the doctor, though Billy says girls can't be doctors and I should be a nurse. I pinch the skin on his arm so hard he runs off crying. No one else moans I'm a girl doctor. I make the kiddies lie on the ground and go around fixing them up. Alice is the nurse and she helps me. I'm halfway through helping a baby out into the world when the bell rings and we have to line up. Girls on one side, boys on the other. Me and Alice find our desks at the back of the room, hers in front of mine. It's not right, I whisper to her. Shh, she says over her shoulder. Why do the poshies get the front seats? Alice ignores me, so I reach over and flick her back. Alice, it's not fair, is it? They get all the good stuff. Alice reaches her leg back and tries to kick my shin, but she misses. She might not say nothing, but I know it makes her as cross as me. Her yard is posh, but not enough to earn herself a front seat. Teacher has noticed my whispering. One more peep out of you, Ellen, and you'll be off to the headmaster. Does she think she scares me? That old goat in his smoke-filled office don't scare me neither. Just as well, 'cause I'm in that office by noon. He makes me stand by his desk and moves around it so he's towering above me. Back again so soon, Ellen? And what have you done this time? I shudder when he speaks. His voice sounds like a hiss and bits of spit fly from his mouth as he talks. His face is shiny and his moustache twitches like a caterpillar when he's cross. It's twitching now. Miss said I didn't do no work. And why would she think that? 'Cause she's a bloody liar, that's why. The caterpillar on his face is wriggling round like nobody's business. His greasy skin has turned red and he keeps smoothing down his thin hair. Show me your slate, he says. I hold my empty slate out in front of him. I did the sums in my head. He peers down at me. I will not tolerate lying in my school, Ellen, he says. I don't know how he gets the sound out, 'cause he clamps his teeth together as he talks. I wasn't lying, sir. I did 'em in my head. It's Miss what's a liar, not me. I will not tolerate lying or insolence in my school, young lady. Bloody hell, he made me jump out of my skin. I know what's coming, so before he can even say it, I lay my arms out on the desk, palms facing up. I don't need to look to know the cupboard that creaks open is the one where he keeps his cane. For once, I don't count. I don't want to know how many times he's hit me with that bloody thing. When he's done, my palms are red raw. My skin may weep, but my eyes are dry. He's expecting me to cry. I don't. "Don't let me see you in here again, Ellen," he says. "No, sir," I say. Then just for good measure, I give him a big grin before running out of the room. That will show him. I keep out of trouble all afternoon. Under the table, I sort through the cigarette cards I pinched from Arthur's jacket and keep my hands busy and mouth shut. Alice has been ignoring me since lunch, afraid I'll get her into bother. I should be more careful, for her mum won't let us be friends if I drag her into trouble one more time. And I like Alice. I like her yard too. The bell rings and we rush out, ignoring the teacher's cries to walk, not run. Our little gang gathers by the gates and plans out the rest of the afternoon. Sometimes as many as 8 of us gather and head onto the street. Up to no good, some say. Today there's only 4, me, Alice, Jack and Samuel. I reckon we should sneak a look in the malt house, I say. How about the graveyard at St. Martin's, says Jack, but Alice shakes her head. I know something better than all that, says Sam, and beckons us to follow him. He leads us out of the schoolyard and heads up Oak Street. Where are we going? I ask, but he winks and says nothing. I tug at his sleeve. Tell me where we're going, Sam. Don't like surprises, Ellen. I don't trust you to think of good surprises, that's all, I say. It's usually me in charge, and I don't like Sam playing boss. Maybe I should give him a pinch, like what I did to Billy. But then I'd have to go home, and it's too nice an afternoon to be stuck at home or in the yard. I hang at the back of the group, dragging my feet. Stop sulking, says Sam. The little bugger's laughing at me. He better watch it or I'll punch him in the nose. We're here, he says, leading us into Unicorn Yard. So the surprise is your yard, is it? That's a rubbish surprise, I say, turning to leave. You don't want to see what Dad's got in his shed, then? I turn around. I can't help myself. We don't have sheds in our yard, so I've no idea what could be in there. It better be bloody good, I tell him. Oh, it is. You'll see. We sit on Sam's step and he goes into the shed and closes the door behind him. There's banging and the sound of metal objects being knocked over. You all right in there? Says Alice. Need any help? Says Jack. Nah, be out in a tick, comes Sam's muffled voice. The shed door flings open and we all stand gawping as he appears with a shiny bicycle. Bloody hell, I say. Told you it was a good surprise, he says. Whose is it? Dad's. The shop's been doing well, so he got this. Like it? Not half, says Jack. Give us a go. He grabs the bicycle from Sam's hands and tries to climb up. He falls off 3 times before he gets himself on by leaning it up against a wall. His feet just about reach the pedals. They've gone round 2 circles before the bicycle wobbles and he's on the cobbles. Alice rushes over to him, still playing the nurse. She pulls a hanky from her pocket and dabs it against Jack's grazed knee. I thought we could go up Mousehold, says Sam, and we all gawp again. You know how to get there? You know how to ride that thing? Course I do. Dad showed me. You keen? We all nod. Sam tries to get us all on, but it's impossible, and after several times trying, we all have cuts and bruises for our trouble. I reckon I can get Alice and Ellen on here. Jack, you run alongside. Jack looks disappointed, but nods his head at Sam's idea. Both boys hold the bike still, while Alice perches above the back wheel and I climb onto the handlebars. Sam's bum won't reach the seat, so he swings his leg up and over and stands on the pedals. All right, Jack, let go, he says. The bike wobbles in all directions over the cobbles, and I'm sure we'll fall off again. But Sam gets the hang of it, and before we know it, we're out of the yard. It's a fair old way to Mousehold. Sam says he takes 15 minutes most times, but today we take 40. Sam says it's because he's got 2 great heifers either end of his bike. Cheeky bugger. Twice me and Alice jump off when Sam's panting gets loud enough for us to know we're not welcome. The downhills are the most fun. I'm pleased I nabbed the front, for I get the wind in my hair and a fine view of the streets we pass through. We reach a scrubby patch of land that goes on forever. Sam tells us we're here and shoves his bike behind a gorse bush so it don't get pinched. He leads us up a hill, and we're all red in the face by the time we reach the top. "Turn around," he says, and we do as we're told. Bloody hell, I've never seen nothing like it. The sun is bright, so we rest our hands above our eyes to block it. Jack lets out a whistle. I would too if I knew how. We can see the whole of Norwich from up here. Rooftops and trees, a giant spire stretching to heaven. Blimey, looks better up here than what it does down there, I say, and the others agree. I take such a deep breath, my shoulders almost reach my ears. The air's different here. It tastes nice in my mouth. The stink of the river's too far from us, and the soot from chimneys has long disappeared. I lie down on the grass and stretch my arms and legs out. It's comfier than my bed, I can tell you. "Get your lazy bum off the ground," says Sam. "It was me doing the hard work to get here, not you." He reaches a hand down and I grab it, letting him heave me from my comfy spot. "I reckon we should play—" Sam interrupts me before I can finish. "Shut up, bossy britches. It was me that got us here, not you. Today I choose what we do." I want to argue with him, but know I'll never find my way home without him, so I better not. He picks cowboys and Indians. Him and Jack get to be cowboys. Me and Alice have to be the Indians. Alice sulks for a while because she wanted to play mums and babies, but I don't mind. I won't admit it to the boys, but I reckon cowboys and Indians is more exciting than mums and babies. Jack takes off his jersey to mark their base, and I use my boots to mark ours. There's no rules about where the base must be, so I find a tree with a thick trunk and shimmy up there. I love it up in the tree. It's like a proper den with a giant green roof. I could happily sleep up here, the trunk is that wide. Alice isn't happy, for she takes an age to get up the branches. We sit and wait. The boys have disappeared and I'm growing suspicious. Ah! The boys run out of the gorse, twisting long grass stalks and pelting us with the heads that fly off them. They try to climb up our tree, but I use my feet as weapons, knocking them down with my bare toes. My nails are long and sharp, good for scratching. They can't get past my jabs and tell us we're cheating. "You never gave us no rules," I say, but that makes them more cross. "If our bullets hit you, you're out," they say, and I laugh. I'm good at ducking and diving. Alice gets hit straight away. She tries to lie and say it missed, but we all saw. Once she's made it down the tree, the boys march her over to their base. They pretend to tie her hands up and tell her not to escape. Jack comes back, jerking his head this way and that while my feet kick out at him. The boys play a good game. While Jack has me distracted, Sam climbs up the other side and gets to our base. It's time to admit defeat, but I've learnt my lesson. I'll win next time. Chapter 6, May 1906. "What time is it?" I ask Florrie as she shakes my shoulder and pulls blankets off my bed. 4. Time to get up or someone will spot us getting the blossoms. Stealing the blossoms is what she means. Today's the day Sarah gets wed and Mum said she'd sort the flowers. By sort, she means sending me, Florrie and Ethel out to sneak what we can from other people's gardens. And she don't just mean blossoms neither. Whatever we can lay our hands on, she said. We'll have to go a good way from the yards, as nothing much grows around here, except in the churchyard, and it wouldn't do to take from there. Ethel's waiting for us downstairs and hands us each a cuppa when we appear. She don't look best pleased about our morning task, goes against every goody two-shoes bone in her body, I'll bet. "Come on, let's get this over with," she says, downing the dregs of her tea and wiping the cup with a rag. We pull on our coats, for although spring is here, this early it'll be chilly out. "Where to?" I ask, and Ethel points away from the river. "I've seen some big houses up that way, so it's probably our best bet. Hopefully everyone will still be in their beds." We pass rows of brand new terraces with neat front gardens. By the end of the 5th row, our basket is ablaze with pink, purple and yellow. My gut twists at the thought of the poor women who tended these flowers, expecting to gaze on them all summer long. Ethel's worse than me, blubbing away about cops and robbers. Florrie just keeps walking, eager to be done as quick as she can. We're about to turn back when I spot a huge red house. How one house can have so many windows, I don't know. A long brick wall runs in a curl behind it, and I spot blossom-coloured trees poking out above. Look, I say, pointing to the wall. I reckon I could get over there. Don't be daft, Ellen, says Ethel. We still need blossom, I say, and from what I can see there's plenty there for the taking. Florrie wanders over to the wall and stands on her tiptoes inspecting the bricks. She can't climb it herself, but I reckon if we give her a leg up, it's doable. You're both as balmy as each other, says Ethel. Come on, says Florrie, taking my hand. She looks behind her to where Ethel is pinned to the spot. Ethel, if you help us, we'll be done much quicker. If you stand there like a statue, it'll take longer, and they might catch us. Ethel huffs and puffs as she walks over to us. She's glancing up and down the road, but there's no one about, and she seems to relax a little. There's a branch resting on the wall above, pink and white blossoms just out of reach. Here, says Florrie, cupping her hands and making a step. Good thing I'm so little. Florrie lifts my foot easily and pushes me right up to the top of the wall. I perch myself on top, one leg dangling either side, and begin breaking off branches, passing them down to Florrie, who hands them to Ethel to put in our basket. I reckon we've got enough, said Ethel, but there's an explosion of petals just beyond my reach, and I'm sure if I stretch a little more, I'll get to them. Hold your horses, I say, grabbing hold of a branch and pulling it towards me. Just a bit further. Bloody fool I am. I lose my balance, don't I? My hands grip on the branches as my legs slide off the wall, but the wood is too thin and snaps in two, sending me hurtling to the ground. I sit in a crumpled heap, hearing Ethel's sobs from the street. Well, my hands are all right, just a few scratches. There's scrapes down my legs, but they're not too wobbly to stand on. I glance behind me as a light comes on in one window. Florrie! I hiss. Florrie, quick, help me up. I reckon someone's coming. Ethel must have given Florrie a leg up, for her head pops above the wall. Leaning over, she holds her hands out to me. Careful, Florrie, you could fall too. It's all right, Ethel's got a good hold of my feet. Take my hands. I grab her hands and shimmy up the wall till I've got a good grip on the triangle tiles at the top. I'm almost over when we hear the shout. You there! You are trespassing on private property. Come here and explain yourself, or I shall call the constable. I jump down beside Florrie and Ethel. Run, I say, and we sprint back through the streets, angry shouts bouncing off walls behind us. Ethel drags us into a yard and we catch our breath. The shouts have stopped. We're safe. Ethel won't let us go until she's poked her head round the yard entrance to make sure the coast is clear. She gives a thumbs up and we make our way onto the street. There's a trail of colour from where we've come, but although it's tempting to pick up our lost treasure, the risk of getting caught isn't worth it. We've got plenty left in our basket to go around. Mum should be happy enough. Back at home, the copper is in front of the fire, big pans of water sitting above the flames, heating for Sarah's scrub. She'll have a job to fit herself and her belly into that tub. We lay the flowers out on the table and the room fills with brightness. I've never seen our house look so cheerful. Mum gives us a smile when she comes in and sees our haul. Good girls, she says. No trouble? No, Mum, says Ethel, blushing and shooting looks at me and Florrie that tell us to keep our gobs shut. Grab yourselves a bite to eat. Sarah's first up for a bath, but I want the rest of you in there too, so don't go disappearing on me. No, Mum, we say. Sarah don't like us hanging round while she's in the nud, so we eat our breakfast out in the yard. Ethel nabs the front step, so me and Florrie find a bucket to sit on. A window opens in the house beside us and Mrs. Jeffries pokes her head out. Got your dresses in here when you're ready? Thanks, Mrs. Jeffries, but Mum wants us scrubbed first, says Ethel. Pop in when you're done then, love. Will do. I'm excited about my dress. Sarah's chap Sid gave Mrs. Jeffries a few bob to make us all matching dresses. They'll be cobbled together from Sid's mum's old curtains, but Mrs. Jeffries is a whiz with a needle and thread, so no one will ever know. It takes an age before it's my turn in the tub. Littlest goes last. That's the rule. Stupid rule if you ask me. Mum collects the scum from the top with a jug and chucks it out onto the cobbles. I whip my clothes off and jump in. Mum curses when I spill water on the floor, but it's hard not to. I've no idea how the others fit in here, for it's a squeeze for me and I'm little. Mum hands me some lye and I give myself a good old scrub, even my hair. I'm quick about it, for the water has lost its warmth by the time I get a go at it. Mum's not about to heat no more. It was enough effort dragging bowl after bowl from the pump the first time. In and out, that's the way to do it. No dallying. Mum makes me stand in the tub till most of the water's dripped off me. Then I give myself a good old shake. "You're not a dog," says Mum. "How am I supposed to dry myself then?" I ask, and get a clip round the ear for my cheek. Mum drags her fingers through my wet hair so it dries flat. It's that tangly, I worry she'll pull most of it from my head. Despite my wriggles and squeals, she tugs just as hard. She's eager to make a good impression at the church, I reckon. Us Hardys aren't churchgoers, and I've only ever heard her use God's name as a curse word, but I suppose she'll want to avoid hell as much as the rest of us. Alice took me to Sunday school with her once. It was all right until the priest came in at the end. He was too friendly with the kiddies for my liking, took me into a back room and held me on his knee. His hand tried to make its way up my dress, so I bit his shoulder till he yelped like a puppy dog. I never told Alice what happened in that room, and I never told her why I wouldn't go back there. Probably not all kiddies get away like I did. Poor sods. We're all so scared of the scavengers, but it's the men in fine robes what read from the Bible we should watch out for. "Ellen, stop your bloody daydreaming and help me empty the tub," says Mum. Between us and our pots and pans, it don't take long to chuck the water outside into the drain. Mum don't say much, but she's twitchy, rushing round, button eyes dancing this way and that. She must have had her bath last night, for her hair's not so greasy and her sunken cheeks are free of grime. She don't get no new clothes today, but Mrs. Morrison is lending her a smart hat and Dad's got her a pair of heeled shoes from the factory. "You girls ready yet?" calls Mrs. Jeffries as we're swilling the last of the water from the copper. "All done here," says Mum. "I'll send Ellen over for them. Ta, Maggie." "No bother, Mary. Your girls will look a picture in their finery." "Some of them will," says Mum, cocking her head in my direction and giving Mrs. Jeffries a wince. "You're a cheeky bugger, Mary. Your Ellen is as pretty as a petal. Come on, love. I've got the dresses in the kitchen." I leave Mum and head through Mrs. Jeffries' open door. It's funny what difference a window makes, and a small one at that. All that light makes everything more shiny, roomier, cleaner. Her kitchen's not much bigger than ours, but there's an easy chair in one corner and enough wooden chairs for all the family to sit. It's spotless in here, not a speck of dust to be found, however much my finger traces the mantel to find one. "You got clean hands?" Mrs. Jeffrey asks. I hold out my hands and she inspects them. She says, and takes me over to a bowl of water. She plonks my hands beneath the water and scrubs my nails with a tiny brush. She dries them on a cloth and inspects them once more. "Much better," she says. "Now, can I trust you with my hard work?" I nod. "Hold your arms out then." I do as I'm told and she covers my arms with layers of pressed fabric. It's heavy, but I keep my arms still. "Now, you be careful getting those back to your place. We don't want no dirt getting on them before the wedding, do we?" "No, Mrs. Jeffries." "Good girl. Now shoot, it's only an hour till you need to be at the church." Me, Florrie, Ethel and Maria stand outside Mrs. Jeffries' door, twirling round. Her hand covers her mouth and she has tears in her eyes. "Oh, girls, pretty as a picture you are." "Thanks, Mrs. Jeffries," we all say. We're proud as punch of our dresses. Red roses with green stems swirl over our bellies and arms, floating and flapping around our legs. I spin round to show how far the skirt sticks out, and Florrie catches me when I stagger round dizzy. "Better for dresses than curtains," says Mrs. Jeffries. "With that much swing to them, they can't have kept out many draughts." "Ta, Maggie, you've done a fine job with this lot," says Mum, coming from our house and wobbling on her heels. "You don't look so bad yourself." She's right. Mum looks nice. It's not her clothes, it's her smile. Mum don't often smile. It'd be a better smile if she had teeth in her mouth, but we're all pleased she's happy. Means an easier day for us. Sarah comes out, all lace, ivory and belly. "Oh my!" squeals Mrs. Jeffries, rushing over and flinging herself on Sarah. "Watch out, Maggie, you don't want to be wetting her with your tears," says Mum. Mrs. Jeffries dabs her eyes and holds Sarah at arm's length. "What a beauty," she says. Sarah does look a beauty, smiling, carrying blossoms in her hand. No one would guess she comes from the yards. Dad and the boys step out of the house, hair slicked down, shirts pressed. We make our way across the road to the church. I shiver as we walk through the porch. The air's warmth don't reach through the thick walls of St. Martin's. The light do, though. It makes a coloured carpet for us to walk down, shining through the bright pictures of Jesus and his pals built high into the church walls. I try not to step on the reds, blues and greens, but it's hard not to. We all gather at the front, Sid's family grim-faced at his marrying down in the world. I stand at the back of our group, holding my posy of other people's flowers. Before you can blink, it's all over. I reckon it takes Dad longer to cut a piece of leather than it does to wed. Sarah and Sid walk out hand in hand and we traipse behind. How Mrs. Jeffries and Mrs. Morrison turned the yard round so quick is a mystery, for when we step through the alleyway, it's transformed. All the neighbours have brought their tables out and they fill the length of the yard from top to bottom. Plates of food cover tables. Where they got it from, I can't say. Kiddies run round squealing in excitement. There's a cheer as we come through the alley and people rush forward to congratulate the bride and groom. Sid's mum and dad look shifty among the yard folk, but his brother John mucks in, joking around with Robert, Arthur and Albert, pint in hand. I catch Maria eyeing him up. She's not best pleased Sarah beat her down the aisle and seems determined to right that wrong. Chapter 7. October 1906. I wriggle free of blankets and stretch my arm to the wall. A tiny movement, but one that leaves me breathless. My fingertips are almost there. I pull one arm with the other, grip my teeth, but those tips tease me, dusting the wall, then pulling back. I collapse in a heap. If at first you don't succeed, try again. My teacher's words ringing in my ears, I give it a good go. This time I shuffle further up the bed and can hold a flat palm to the damp stone. Cool stone brings a bit of comfort, so I keep my hand there till I've caught my breath. Beneath my mattress, I've hidden the pebble Florrie got me. Smooth end between my fingers and ragged edge pointing out, I chalk a line through the chink in the wall. 16. That's 16 days gone, 84 to go. 100-day cough is what I've got. I'm not sure I'll last the full 100, but the lines on the wall keep me going. Each day is a victory, 2 fingers up to the Grim Reaper. He comes to me in my dreams, but his face mixes with Mum's and I can't tell which is which. Mum would blow her top if she knew I'd carved 100 scratches in the wall, but it's so dingy in this corner, I don't suppose she'll ever find out. I had a little cross above one line. 5 days since I've had grub. My bed's a bundle in the corner and the others have pulled theirs as far from me as they can. Mum has made Florrie sleep by the door. She's the only one not had the cough and she's too good a worker for Mum to risk her getting sick. No one's allowed near me, only Mum. She says it's saving the others from sickness, but with the hours she works it means most days are spent alone. She checks on me twice a day, but she's a rubbish nurse. Alice could do a better job than Mum. I know I shouldn't, but I cough her way in the hope she'll catch sickness, have it rattle her body the way it rattles mine. Then she might understand, and at least I'd have some company. She keeps me watered, but it's from the pump, and between the coughing and spluttering from my bum, my belly aches like hell. 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all I need. Hold my breath for that long and I can sneak past the others without being spotted. My belly growls like an angry dog and I shove fingers into the hollow space in my middle to make it stop. Don't work. Bugger. I can feel the tickle rising in my throat. I squeeze my mouth shut and hold my breath till my eyes are watering, but it's no good. Just in time, I fling myself down on the bed and grimy blankets soak up coughs and splutters. Between coughs, I suck in air, making a squealing noise that scares me. Thank God Florrie's not beside me. She's a useless liar. Even when she tells me I'll be better soon, the lines on her forehead tell me the truth, and those lines get deeper when she hears my coughs and splutters. My breathing gets more regular, and I know it's now or never. I wipe my damp face with my sleeve and take as deep a breath as I can. Go! Lucky I'm a good hopscotcher, for you need to be nimble to pick through the tangle of feet on the floor. At the end of the room, I'm careful to skip the last floorboard. I've learnt from experience its squeak is enough to wake the room. I take the stairs quicker than I'd like, but I can feel the tickle rising again and know my time's running out. I've only just made it downstairs when the coughing bubbles up again. Bundles of nightdress shoved into my mouth muffle the sound, but the drags from my lungs pull the cotton down too far and I think I'm going to choke. I yank it free of my mouth and feel the slime of sickness sticking to it. There's bugger all water in the jug, so I rub my nightdress against the crumbling wall, leaving more plaster on me than sickness on it. The catch on the larder door lifts with a quiet click, and I inch the creaking door open. My hand runs along the dusty top shelf until it settles on a candle. There'll be no hiding its burnt tip, but if I'm quick enough and it don't burn down too far, maybe no one will notice. With the candle lit from the fire's embers, I return to the larder. My belly growls again and my mouth fills with spit at the thought of food. How long is it since I ate? 6 days now? Time has turned liquid with its melt and flow since the sickness nabbed me. The candle sheds a dim flicker on the larder shelves. Calling it a larder could almost be a joke if the bare dirty shelves were funny. A bag of oats sits high on the shelf, scattered remains of a rat's feast lying in a trail beside it. I can't make porridge, too noisy by far, and besides, the embers of the fire aren't enough for heating any water. My hand reaches further back on the shelf, and something hard fills my palm. I pull it out. One stale chunk of a crust from a loaf long forgotten. Bugger, this will do nothing to salve the growling dog gnawing away at my insides. I take a nibble and spit it out again. I lean my back against the wall. My weak body would leave me angry if I weren't so bloody knackered. It must be cold in here, but my skin is burning, my hair damp to the touch, and even amongst this squalor I know it's me who reeks. Summoning all the energy I have left, I return to the pantry and take a pinch of hardened salt from a greasy jar. With no butter, this is the best I can hope for. I know I have to eat something, and I take a few quick nibbles, but it catches in my throat and I'm forced to wash it down with a few drops of pump water. My belly will pay for that tomorrow. I can't risk any more coughing, so I carry the rock-like bread back upstairs and hide it under my blanket for the morning. With no clock, I can't be sure, but my sleep can't be more than 10-minute bursts. In the early hours, I try bashing myself in the chest to stop the coughing. It don't work. All night the others throw out sleepy shouts as my hacking wakes one after the other. I learn some new curse words, but my brain's too foggy by morning to remember them. During my final titbit of sleep, I dream of the baby, the dead baby. I wake soaked in sweat, worse than any caused by my fever. Am I alone? I squint through the half-light and see the outline of Mum in the corner. Her hands are moving quick and steady, so she must be mending. With Mum distracted, I take the stolen bread from beneath the blanket and hide myself under the covers. Florrie's tried getting me food. Even Albert had a go, but Mum stopped them each time. She says it's best to starve a fever, but I think it's me she wants to starve. I crack the bread in two with a loud snap. My ears strain for sounds of movement, but I don't think Mum heard. It would be too noisy to crunch my way through, so I shove a chunk in my mouth to soften it. My plan would work were I not so ravenous. Before my spit can get to work on softening the loaf, my body takes over, my jaw working like a puppet pulled by strings. Bugger. The scratching, clawing tickle in my chest is bubbling up. I try to hold my breath, but it's useless. My puppet body works against me and goes to suck in a big gulp of air. Only my mouth is full and it's bread sucked down instead. I try to cough it back up, but it's jammed fast. My heart is drumming, sweat now coming in rivers instead of trickles. Breathe, breathe, breathe. No air gets through. I throw the blankets off me and Mum rushes over. My face is burning red, the room swimming in front of my eyes. It looks like Mum will help me, but in my distress the uneaten half of crust has tipped off my mattress and onto the floor. She picks it up. Please, I want to scream. I don't have time. She holds it in front of my eyes, which are now bulging so much they might fall out. Something happens to Mum, and it's like she's become a statue. The bread falls from her hand, but she don't move to get it. She stares into space, frozen to the spot. I tumble onto the floor, squiggling and squirming, clutching my neck. Tears rush down my cheeks and my shallow breaths sound more like screams. Tears blur my sight, but I know the room is growing darker. They can't put me in a drawer. I'm too big. Will they just bury me in the ground? Maybe Mum will throw me in the river before the others get back. The last thing I hear are footsteps on the stairs. Then darkness overtakes me. My sight is returning in flashes. Light, dark, light, dark. The room is jumping and turning. I see Mum's feet level with my head. What's happening? Harder, Arthur! I know that voice. It's Florrie. She's screaming, please, Arthur, help her! The room is jumping again. My head feels hot and heavy. My hair is swishing above me. Something eases in my chest and a slimy mix of bread and water flies from my mouth, skidding along the floor and making a puddle. The room spins and I find myself held in Arthur's arms. Now I'm level with Mum's head. Her face is still, mouth set in a line, eyes staring wildly from her skull. Arthur is cradling me, rocking me like a baby as coughs come so fast I'm not sure they'll ever stop. Florrie has her hand on my wet hair, stroking and stroking, kissing and kissing. The coughs ease off and Arthur settles me onto my bed. He props me up so my back is against the wall and I can breathe easier. His eyes are shining, staring deep into mine. I've never seen him look like this before. It's like he's seeing me for the first time. He turns his head and his face changes as he looks at Mum. Sit with her, he tells Florrie. In 3 steps he's crossed the room. His hands wrap round Mum's neck and he lifts her high, pressing her into the wall. She's trying to call out, her fingers scratching at his arms, but his hands are big and grow tighter still. How does it feel? Mum tries to answer him, but it's all she can do to breathe. How does it feel, hey? This is how Ellen felt. Like it, do you? Now Mum's whimpering like a child, feet banging against the walls, hands flying against Arthur's back. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As quick as it tightened, his hand releases and Mum tumbles into a heap on the floor. Arthur looks down at her, his face red with rage. He makes a gagging sound, then spurts a lump of spit onto Mum's head. A whimper escapes my lips and Florrie pulls me close. I didn't know what to do, Mum whispers. Didn't know what to do? If you were any sort of mother, you'd have helped her. You near enough left your own flesh and blood to die. Near enough killed her yourself. No, you're no mother. Mum curls up in a ball, eyes hidden by her palms. Arthur comes over to me and takes my face in his hands. Gentle hands that only moments ago were gripping Mum by the neck. You'll be all right now, he says, before crossing the room and running down the stairs. We hear the door slam, and even with no windows, hear his boots stamping across the yard. Mum turns to us, and Florrie pulls me tighter to her, shielding me from anything that might come my way. But Mum says nothing. With her cuff, she wipes the spit from her hair, scrubs her eyes dry, straightens her skirts, and heads outside. Chapter 8, December 1906. Ellen? Shh, I say to Florrie. Don't let her find me. Florrie grins and we carry on playing with our stash of fabric we nicked from Mrs. Jeffrey's bag. I drape a piece of black taffeta over my head and spin round and round until I bump into Florrie and she giggles. Shh, I say again. Ellen, come here now or there'll be hell to pay. Mum is downstairs. We should have had far longer to play than this. She's not usually back till 6. Maybe they let her out early because of her massive baby belly. But there must still be silk to wind. When she had Maud in her belly, she never got out early. Poor Maud. Poor Mum. I remember Florrie crying when we got back after leaving Maud at the morgue. But not Mum. Mum just carried on with her winding, only taking an hour off to see Maud buried in the ground. You better go, says Florrie. We hear heavy footsteps tramping up the stairs and shove the fabric back into its bag. Put it under a blanket, quick. Florrie gets it hidden just as Mum comes into our room. What? I ask her. I've done my jobs for today. Why can't you leave me alone? We're going out. There's someone I want you to meet. You're staying elsewhere for a few days, so pack a few bits in here. She throws a heavy carpet bag at me. I recognise it. I remember Maria clutching it tight as we travelled through the snow. I jump back. Mum picks up the bag and holds it out to me. Take it. Now. I stand pinned to the spot, scared to open the carpet bag for what I might find in there. I said, pack your things and while you're at it, stop being ungrateful. Most little girls like adventure, but no, not our Ellen. Florrie stares from Mum to me, wondering what's going on. I'm wondering the same, but Mum's in one of her moods and I reckon she'd answer my questions with a slap. Where are you taking her? Florrie asks, and I'm grateful, for I couldn't get the words out. Oh, don't you worry that pretty little head of yours, Florence. Our Ellen is going on an adventure. 2 things now bother me. First, Mum never calls Florrie Florence, and second, there's an edge to her voice. It's hard, like her scratchy fingers, and too high, like she's playing one of me and Florrie's make-believe games. I shuffle myself behind Florrie and she puts a thin arm across me. Bloody hell, I love my sister. Tell us where you're taking her, or I'll not let you pass. Mum laughs, but not the way we were laughing before she came in. Her mouth is moving, but her eyes are hard, like 2 black stones peeping out of a face as wrinkled as Dad's shoe leather. I found Ellen work, that's all. Just for a few days, but she'll need to stay with her master and mistress. Work? Says Florrie. What work? She's too young to be working. Not where she's going. Now stop messing around and do as I say. Mum pushes the carpet bag between me and Florrie. Bugger, now what should I do? I want to stay behind Florrie's warm arm, but Mum looks mad and it's not a good idea to mess with her when she's in a lather. Come here, now. Oh God, she's in a lather, that's certain, but my body won't move. Before I can get my bloody legs to do what my mind is telling them, Mum has pushed Florrie to the floor and is gripping my arm. Ow! I say, but she either don't hear or don't care. My skin is burning beneath her fingers, folds pinched as black grimy nails dig in. She lets go and I rub at the red skin. Tears prick my eyes, but I blink them away. Hardys are tough folk, Dad says, and I should be no different. Mum is flinging clothes into the carpet bag. Florrie folds my dress at night and leaves everything in a neat pile. Mum don't fold. She shoves, crumples and squashes. Put this on, she says, handing me the dress I wore for Sarah's wedding. But this is for best. You need to look your best today. Don't want to be accused of selling faulty goods. Where am I going? I ask, pinching my hand to rid the shake in my voice. I told you. To work. But where? It's a surprise. I don't like surprises. Mum stops her packing and stares at me hard. It's a look that tells me to stop talking, a look that tells me I won't find out more however much I ask. I pull off my old clothes slowly and she taps her foot, sighing big sighs, picking at her nails. Hurry up or we'll be late. Once I've got my posh frock on, Mum attacks my hair with her grimy fingers, yanking out tangles and rubbing spit into my fringe to straighten the kinks. She holds me at arm's length. You'll do. Let's get going. I follow Mum to the door, then stop as Florrie rushes across and flings herself at me. She's crying, like she knows something I don't, like she won't see me again. I scrub the tears from her cheeks and look up into her big brown eyes. It's all right, I tell her. I'll be home soon. She pulls me tighter, and by now my body is heaving with big gulping sobs. Mum is shifting from one foot to the other, sighing with impatience. Let go of her. Don't you have work to be doing? Florrie grabs hold of my hand, but hers is wet from wiping salty tears and slips from mine as Mum drags me from the room. As we pass the kitchen, I notice something on the table. Mum tugs my arm, but not quick enough to stop me seeing what's there. An envelope. A brown envelope with paper notes and shiny coins spilling from it. Where did all that money come from? Mum shoves me out the door before I get a chance to ask. The yard is heaving with folk about their business, and no one looks up as Mum drags me across the cobbles. She's pulling my arm and I have to run to keep up. My boot catches on the edge of a stone and I stumble, but she don't slow down. Mum, you're hurting me. Keep walking, we can't be late. Late for what? My words fall on the cobbles and get no reply. We pass through the dingy alley and then Mum stops so suddenly I bump into her bum. What time is it? She asks. As if I'd know. Bloody hell, I hope we've not missed her. Missed who? Never you mind. I stick my little finger in my mouth and chew on the nail. It's bitten down so far I've reached the skin and the metal taste of blood touches my tongue. Stop that, will you? We don't want Julia to think you're a rude girl. Who's Julia? Your new boss. It's dirty to eat your fingers. Did you not have porridge this morning? Never you mind, I say, and get a clip round the ear. Mum bends down to look at me. Her knees crack as she lowers herself, holding her belly like the baby inside might fall out any moment. I turn my head away from her sickly, stale, milk-smelling breath. Her few teeth are brown as the river, and the sight and smell of her mouth makes me feel sick. Now, Ellen, listen to me. You're to walk to the corner of Oak Street and wait outside the butcher's. Understand? I nod my head. Julia will meet you there. You be a good girl for her, you hear? I don't want you giving her none of your cheek. She's doing us a great kindness taking you to stay with her. I nod again, and before I know what's happening, Mum's pulled me into her chest, arms holding tight to my back. Her clothes smell horrid, and I try to move my head, but she pulls me closer. As quick as she started, she stops, letting go so fast I nearly fall on my bum. She lifts my chin with her hand. I think she's going to speak, but instead her button eyes stare into mine, then she lets go of my face and turns back to the alley. I stand still, watching her waddling into the darkness. Mum? I say, but she don't turn round. Mum! She said I'm going for just a few days, didn't she? I can't remember. Bloody hell, my belly's doing somersaults. I must be mad, for I have a feeling I won't be seeing my mum again. People stare as they walk past. It's not a strange sight, a kiddie on the street alone, so it must be the carpet bag what makes them look. The bag lies beside me on the pavement, for I hate the feel of it in my hands. It's at least 15 minutes I've been standing here, waiting. I'll give it another 5 before I head home. We must have been too late, or maybe that Julia had no need for a worker after all. My hands knot together, ringing this way and that, just like the butterflies in my belly. There's no sign of any ladies, whichever way I turn. 1, 2, 3. I'll give it to 100, then I'm off. I've reached 80 when I see her. It must be her. Everyone else round here is dressed in grey and brown, so she can't be from these parts. The lady rushes towards me, waving. She reaches me and I stare up at her open-mouthed. I've seen none like her. Bright blonde hair hangs in perfect curls, bouncing against her cheekbones as she walks. Her full lips are crimson, thick black lashes frame her turquoise eyes. She smiles, and her cheeks become half-crescent moons that I want to reach up and kiss. I can't stop staring. I know I should look away, but her face draws me like a moth to a flame. She removes a white silk glove from one hand and reaches it out to me. My name's Julia. Pleased to meet you. I try to speak, but have become mute. Long fingers wrap round mine. Her fingernails are painted the same red as her lips. I curl my own bitten stubs, hoping she won't see. My eyes scan her from the waist down. A long purple dress with ruffled hem sits beneath a knee-length green velvet overcoat. I want to stroke it, for it's the finest coat I've seen. What's your name? She asks me, and I mumble a reply. It's lovely to meet you, Ellen. I think we'll have a wonderful time together, don't you? I don't know, I say. Says Julia. Well, we'd best be on our way. Where are we going? I don't know if she heard me, but she don't answer. Julia takes my hand in hers and I'm surprised by her tight grip. Her palms are rough, but she don't look like no silk winder or machinist, that's for sure. Her nails are hard and leave scratches in my skin as she walks away from Oak Street and down towards the river. Bloody hell. We're crossing the river. Crossing the river. I've never crossed the river in my life, never been much past the yards except Mousehold and that time we caught the bus with the dead baby. I always try and stay away from the river. It stinks. Full of shit and dead bodies, Arthur says. My feet are sore for we've been walking for ages. Bloody hell, what's this? We're in some square, enormous buildings peering down on us. Julia drags me through small tents with coloured canvas packed so tight her hand slips from mine and I get shoved along into a crowd of folk. Help! I say, and she turns and chases after me as I'm squished into a bunch of tall bodies. People shout in my ear about fish, apples and beef. The smells, oh the smells, a mix of rotting flesh and stinking fish, sweet and sour all at once. I look for Julia, but all I can see are people's legs and the hems of their coats. I cover my ears with my hands and scream. People part around me, and there's Julia, grabbing my hand and pulling me away. Between sobs, I take big gulps of air as we pass through the tents and onto the street. You gave me a right fright, disappearing like that, she says, before yanking me close to her as a horse and cart, laden with barrels, skims our toes. We wait as a horseless bus slides past on metal rails. This way, she says. Now she's taking me along Blood and Guts Street. This is a street I know, not from having been here, but from the stories my brothers have told. The stink of dead animals sticks in my nose and I try to hold my breath so I don't breathe it in. There's a herd of cattle coming towards us and I wonder if she's going to drag me through the middle of them. But she pulls me into a doorway and waits for them to pass. I could slip between their muddy, muscly legs and sneak my way back home. But it's too late, for they're past and we're on the move once more. What's that? I say, stopping to look at an enormous square building, thin slits of windows peering out of pale stone. It's the castle. Best keep moving though, you'll see it again, don't worry. Does King Edward live there? No, come on. A castle so near the yards and I never knew. I can't stop staring and Julia presses her knuckles into my back to move me on. We don't stray far from the castle, for she takes me behind it to an area that stretches as far as I can see, covered by a hodgepodge of small, brightly painted canvas stalls and finely carved wagons. All the while, the castle looms over us, like an olden-day giant peering through its slit eyes to check no one's up to no good. Julia pauses for a moment and crouches down to look me in the eye. Ellen, she says in a serious voice, this is your new home. Welcome to the fair.